Right now we're joined by Denise Marek, and she is the author of the book Calm, a proven four-step process
cover.
designed specifically for women who worry. There's a look at the book. And then she also has an article in Canadian Family magazine about, it's the 7 habits of a worry-free mom. Really?
How do you not worry with children?
You know, it's funny because I remember when I was pregnant with my first daughter, my mom said to me, Denise, now you'll never have a worry-free day the rest of your life.
Right.
So, and it's interesting because my mom also said that I've come from a long line of worriers. And I myself, when I was a kid, my mom used to say if there was nothing in the world to worry about, you would find something.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening is when I first became a professional speaker as well, I was working for a seminar company and I was doing their topics, self-esteem for women, dealing with difficult people, conflict and confrontation. And after 18 months of learning and delivering these topics, I realized I wasn't worrying anymore. And I thought, okay, wait, if the world's biggest worrier on the planet can stop worrying, then there's hope for everyone. So I started studying worry and really paying attention how I talk to myself differently.
And I said this earlier too, this happens to say for worry-free moms, but the advice you give, I think everybody can benefit from, not just mothers, although mothers do tend to like take worry to the extreme. Hello. So the first thing you say is ask what is instead of what if. What does that mean?
Well, what that means is oftentimes when we're worrying, we create these massive series of what-if questions. So what if my kids make bad choices? Or what if I don't have enough money to pay my bills? Or what if that pain I have is life-threatening? And what if, what if, what if? And any time you answer your own scary what-if question with a negative assumption, an enormous amount of worry can set in.
Yeah,
so
you start to feel your heart pumping a little bit over nothing,
And then
right?
you establish a narrative that isn't even existent, right?
Absolutely, and those pictures you're creating in your mind just really can take over. So in that moment, see, a key is really awareness, because in that moment you have to become aware of the fact that you're creating this worry for yourself. These things aren't happening, and so then instead of saying what if, ask what is. So what is happening right now? Because then it'll ground you back into the present. So rather than conjuring up all of these things and scenarios that could go wrong in the future, it gets you back right here and right now. And right here and right now, you're safe.
Well, isn't that like, that's just the definition of over-functioning, though, isn't it really? Trying to plan for every scenario?
Right, and I think that's part of the key too. We have to realize that you cannot possibly prepare for every scenario, because I'm sure over the course of your lives, you too will have understood that most of the big things that happen to us are things we hadn't even thought of.
That's absolutely true. It comes out of left field and you go, I didn't see that coming.
I didn't see that coming.
Now that's going to worry you, isn't it, Dave?
Oh no, because I know when it comes down, it usually comes down. Well, I'm a horrible worrier. But if I wasn't a worrier, I couldn't do what I do the way I do it. If I was full of zen and you know what I'm saying?
Well, it depends.
No, it doesn't depend.
It does
Your
depend.
temperament. It's your temperament. It was what fuels
Well, Denise
you.
is saying her temperament was a worrier, and she changed it.
And I'm
Did
saying
it change your personality?
First of all, I want to go back to what you said, because it's not worry elimination, it's worry management, because we worry for a reason. I mean, that mechanism is born in us. They actually found in November of 2006, I believe it was, a gene in people who are more prone to worry. So you can be a genetically born worrier.
Yeah.
So the key is, though, to realize that when you're worrying about things that are absolutely beyond your control, to let it go, or else you won't have time to do those things that you do have control over.
That's true. You'll snooker yourself.
Yeah.
And do mothers do that?
Do they worry about things that are beyond their control?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, constantly.
But more so than fathers?
No, I wouldn't necessarily. Well, that would depend on the father. As we know, some men worry. Some men like to say they don't worry, but they do. And some people don't worry, just like there are some women. I have met some women who say, yeah, I just never worry.
Yeah, my mom is the calmest person I know, and you know, and I worry quite a bit. And I remember her telling me, she's like, when you worry, do you get a headache? I go, yeah. She's like, why you worry? I was like,
But that has to be genetic too.
It is. Obviously, it wasn't passed down. But
She's just jail. But you also talk about determine the probability, and I wonder if I remember once I was trapped in an elevator with somebody, and she was claustrophobic. She was freaking out, and I was like 6 months pregnant. I was like, listen, I can't take this. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? We're not going to die in this elevator. And I find that, like, if you take things sometimes to their final outcome, you realize, oh, like you start to worry, but you think, now really, what am I worried about here?
Right, and that's another key, because as worriers, we often have the question wrong. So we'll say to ourselves, you'll think of the worst case scenario, and then you'll say, is it possible that that could happen? And let's face it, anything in the world can happen. And so when we start to really focus on the unlimited possibilities of what can go wrong, an enormous amount of worry can set in. So again, it's catching yourself with the line of thinking and then saying, okay, don't ask, is it probable? Instead, replace that with, don't ask, is it possible? Replace that with, is it probable? So is it very likely? And then even go so far as to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, because sometimes just doing that and saying, okay, well, I'm worrying about this, it's on a 2 that it's probably going to happen.
Right.
It can kind of give you peace right away. It puts things into perspective.
That two will jump up and bite you right in your keister.
See? Challenge negative assumptions. That's another one of your rules.
Yes, challenge negative assumptions. One of the ways to do that is ask yourself to make more positive assumptions. And so let's say that your child's sick and you're imagining that it's the worst possible illness they can have. Say, okay, well, what else could it be? And start thinking of better case scenarios. And then once you've asked that, you move on to the next step, which is take action to control the things you can. Because that's why sometimes worry is serving you in the first place. Because sometimes worry is saying, wake up and take action. When my oldest daughter, who will be 20 in April, when she was 6 years old, she started to have seizures, but I didn't know what they were. She was just sort of getting in a dazed state. And so if I hadn't have taken action to get her to the doctor to get her on the medication she needed to control the seizures, who knows if she would have got hit by a car because she'd just go in a dazed state while walking across the street or drown in a pool. And so like you were saying, that's why the mechanism is in us in the first place. It's to say, wake up and take action. The trouble is when we start worrying about things that really there are no actions to take, and then it just consumes us.
Right. Take action. Just don't get an ulcer while you're doing
Right.
it. Denise Marek, thank you so much. Again, it's The 7 Habits of Worry-Free Moms is the article in Canadian Family Magazine, and her book is called Calm. Good talking to you.
You too.